In this lesson, we're going to learn some speaking skills that you can use on the day of your test, and they are conversation fillers and opinion openers. You'll learn what language to use when you need to buy some time and you're not sure what you want to talk about. And you're going to learn some excellent phrases that you can use to begin your speaking in the Ielts speaking test. So let's move to the band descriptors and find out why conversation fillers are so useful. As you can see, I've highlighted in every band level from 6 to 9 the word hesitation. Now, hesitating in the Ielts speaking test is perfectly okay. It's a natural thing that we all do whilst we decide what we want to talk about. But using language like and isn't going to score you extra marks. In fact, it will lower your band score. Conversation fillers are phrases that you can use to buy some time while you think about what you want to discuss. Here is why I think they are so useful. Again, words such as or will lose you marks. Conversation fillers can actually buy you time, and using them properly can actually score you some extra points in the Ielts speaking test. Here are 4 examples of conversation fillers that I think you should practice using. I'm going to show you them used against an Ielts question. Now, it's also worth noting that conversation fillers are especially useful in parts 1 and parts 3 of the Ielts speaking test, as you're going to be answering quick-fire questions from the examiner. Let's take a look at that question now. This is an example of a part 1 question about a common topic, such as friendship. What makes a good friend? Let's see the first example using "That's a really good question." That's a really good question. I think a good friend is someone who will help you whatever the situation is. Well, let me think about that. A good friend is someone you can trust at any time with anything. Let's try changing the question. Do you have a lot of free time? It's difficult to say, really. Sometimes on the weekend I can relax, but usually I'm always very busy. And here's another example of a part 1 question. Are you currently working or studying? So let's move on to our final example, which is, to be honest, I've never thought about that. Here you wouldn't want to use a conversation filler, as this question doesn't require much thought. For this reason, there's no need to hesitate and buy some time. You could simply answer with, right now I'm learning business at my local college. It's hard, but I really enjoy it. It's also important to note that even though I'm not giving an opinion, I've added extra detail to my answer by saying it's hard, but I really enjoy it. So as you can see, it's not always appropriate to use conversation fillers. If the question doesn't require too much thinking or an opinion, maybe using a conversation filler would sound slightly strange. Try and practice these 4 phrases as much as you can, but do remember not to repeat language often, as this will lose you marks. Now let's move on to opinion openers. Instead of going through the whole scope of the Ielts band descriptors, I thought that this part of the band 7 band descriptor really summed up why opinion openers are quite so important. Band 7 states, uses a range of connective and discourse markers. Now, a discourse marker is language that organizes your speaking into parts, and that's exactly what opinion openers do. So, much like before, here are 4 opinion openers, or 4 phrases, and I'm going to show you them in use against a question from the Ielts exam. Here is a part 3 example question. Why do people like to travel? In my opinion, many people enjoy travelling so they can see a new country or culture that they are interested in. And here is example 2. Well, it seems to me that many people enjoy travelling these days. I think it helps them to relax and de-stress. Now let's have a go at changing the question. What kind of jobs pay the most? Personally speaking, I feel doctors and lawyers are paid the most money. Business people too earn a lot of cash. And the last example, I believe that the highest paid jobs are different in each country. Where I'm from, IT professionals are paid very well. So that rounds up our 4 opinion openers. And as with the conversation fillers, I recommend that you do practice using them as much as possible. But just like conversation fillers, you can't repeat them too often during your IELTS speaking test. You need to show a range of language to make sure you can get a band score of 7 or higher. Before we move on, I've prepared for you a quick quiz to test your understanding of conversation fillers and opinion openers. Let's take a look at question number 1. Using phrases such as and will A. Annoy the examiner, B. Make no difference, or C. Possibly lose you marks in the test. Well done if you answered C. That's correct that using phrases such as and could possibly lose you marks in the test, as it shows you lack confidence in your language. Here is question number 2. Well, it seems to me, what kind of language is this? A. A conversation filler, B. A connective, or C. An opinion opener? And the correct answer is C. Well, it seems to me is an opinion opener, and it's something that you can use in your IELTS speaking test to begin your speaking part and to start discussing something that you have an opinion on. And here is your final question. In what sections of the test are opinion openers most useful? A. Parts 3, B. All sections of the test, or C. Parts 1 and 3. Again, the correct answer is C. Parts 1 and 3, and that's because you'll be giving opinions or answering questions from the examiner. So that brings us to an end of our lesson on conversation fillers and opinion openers. I highly suggest practicing those 8 phrases to help you use them in your IELTS speaking test.